Rogers is one of the most iconic and one of the oldest names when it comes to drums and percussion. And today, this brand is being reborn. We have Ken with us, who's flown all the way from the United States to talk to us about these beautiful new drums. So let's check it out.
Thank you for having me, man. This is great.
It's awesome. It's really nice to have you. Welcome to the Gear for Music studio. We've been hanging out for a couple of days. We are fresh from the UK Drum Show where we got the chance to hang out. You've been talking to people about these beautiful drums.
I tell you, what an inspiration to see the feedback on the initial look of Rogers drums. And I can't say how many times I heard, I can't believe they're back.
Yeah.
It is inspirational. It's inspirational for us to be involved in this project. Dream come true, actually, for me. But I have to say, we're really proud of what we've done, and we're really glad to be here talking to you about it.
Well, it's really refreshing, and it's really great to see such a historic brand having, I wouldn't say a facelift. It doesn't need a facelift, but it's having a little bit of a boost. And as we said, it's being reborn. And I think it would be really interesting for myself and everybody at home if you could just tell us a little bit about that story.
Absolutely. Well, as many people know, it was really at its heyday in the 60s.
Yeah.
And then through the time, it kind of fizzled out and went away. We were so lucky to be able to snatch it up, but we hid it for a little while. We just didn't let anybody know we did this. I was contacted and was able to put a small team together to kind of bring it back. But we had a lot of homework to do before we could just make a drum and put a label on it.
Yeah.
And that's really been the great adventure of this. Back in 2015, in the US, I mean, it's one of the 4 major brands.
Yeah,
it's one of the biggest vintage collectibles still in the marketplace. So we had a lot of teachers, both players and vintage collectors that kept us real and really gave us the information we needed to do it right. And that's really our credo, do it right.
Yeah, of course.
Make sure it's right. And proud to say that a few short years later, here we are, with something to show.
Yeah, and the drums really are beautiful. I've had a chance to play them and they respond incredibly well. They have so much character, but they also seem super reliable.
Yes. And the word I hear a lot is inspiration. And when I see people like yourself playing, pull the sound out and get something from that, very inspiring, to hear that. And especially when you've put this kind of detail into it. But the sound is something we really needed to re-engineer. I will say that for the 2 years, I was so happy to check out all the different vintage drums, and the ones that have aged well is the sound that we really captured and went after the 60s sound.
I think it's really interesting because Rogers is really a huge name in the USA, but if you could just touch on a little bit of the history of the brand.
Sure. Back in 1849 is when it all started. Joseph Rogers started out making calfskin heads in New York. And it was a few years later that his son took over Cleveland and actually started making drum sets along with those drum heads. Of course, back then, drum heads were banjo heads, anything for calfskin. Cleveland really kind of started the drum set or the drum part of it. And then fast forward into the 60s, or the 50s actually, and you had some very, very famous people, Joe Thompson, Ben Strice, that were ahead of their time in innovations for drummers, spent a lot of time talking to the great players, learning and making the tools that they needed to really bring music forward, which is what a great scene. Later on from that, it was bought by a few other companies that tried to make it go too fast. And that's what was eventually kind of the demise of the brand. So when it came back, we did have some very large shoes to fill, let's put it that way, to make it right.
Yeah, and something that's been very apparent to me from our conversations and what we've been talking about is your dedication to the history and, the progression of the company and respecting the past.
Absolutely.
While also, looking towards the future.
Our goal was to bring back that golden age sound, but make it so that today's player can experience Rogers. And we hope and feel that that's going to be what continues to make us go on in the future and carry on the tradition of what a great brand.
Cool. So why don't we start off by talking about some drum kits?
Let's do.
So the kit that we have in front of us today and the kit that I've been playing today is one of the new USA made drums in the series. This is the Covington Kit, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely beautiful kit.
We named this kit Covington after the factory in the U.S. in Ohio. Just a place that's very inspirational, was the beginning of that sound. And really where you start with any drum set is, the parts and the appointments you're going to make. Our company was pretty steadfast in that we have the ability to make the metal parts ourselves and control the wood and the shells, which was a big component of what we did. The shell for this particular kit is very special. Not easy to make, by the way.
Yeah.
But as we heard, we really tailored the sound after the best vintage drums we could find. Interesting that if you went down and you just hear the way they ring, you could tell by the price point where it fit in the vintage sound. And so we tailored that with a really good friend and master builder, Bill Denimore. Bill Denimore, pork pie drums, knew the formula, but our shell is actually solid plies, 5-ply. It's 3-ply shell with 2-ply re-ring. It's maple, poplar, same woods that were used as before. But because they're solid plies, it gives a presence and a dynamic to the shell. It's pretty special. I think you heard that, when you played them.
Yeah, I mean, the shell's got a real vibrancy to it and lots of character. And because it's made in that old sort of way, the instrument, like the whole kit has a cohesiveness to its vibe. So when you're playing it, you're playing like one instrument, right? Really, like everything is kind of in tune with itself and everything's vibrating at the same sort of resonancy. It's a really nice experience for sure.
Good way to put it. And as Bill says, his hands put the soul into the kit. And we really believe that. The other thing is, we've meticulously put even the fruitwood stain finish in the middle.
Yeah,
and there's all sorts of stories I learned from the vintage guys. Buddy Rich saying this finish did projection and things, but bottom line is we ended up with a formula that really does speak and is the tonal vibe of what we were looking for.
Yeah, I mean, the shell itself, it sings really well, but one thing I also really love about everything you show me is just how stunning the hardware is.
That's the fun part.
Yeah.
Some things we needed to recreate. I think I've shown you that we found in the early days that the materials they used for lugs were brass, very pliable, and they would bend in things. But if you notice this tab right here, it's a very area that can have a lot of damage to come to.
Yeah, of course.
So one of the biggest complaints I heard or concerns I heard from a lot of the vintage guys was they were spending a lot of money to re-weld, solder these pieces. So we actually brought that into the new age with our own molds and metals that really took out the spring so you don't have that vibration sound and brought it into the new world. The good thing is these also fit all the old drums. So for the vintage guys, instead of spending the large amount of money to repair, can actually now use these parts for their own drums.
It's fantastic. I mean, again, with your ethos in terms of serving the community, spare parts are going to be available. We're going to be listing all the spare parts as well. So if you have a Rogers kit and you need new lugs, you need, almost everything like in terms of hardware that's replaceable, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The bow tie drum tension rod, another classic piece that just had to be part of this. Weighted so well, and again, just fits really with the kit. Couldn't be any different. And even to the point where the script badge we made a little bit thicker, a little bit tighter, but yes. So those were the classic appointments, and then we actually came out with a few things that you can see here on the base spurs that are based off of the designs from the clock face throw off. So everything we did there was our new designs to fit for today's player, and now we've gone into tom mounting and things, but still using the hex because you cannot get away from Rogers having that vibe of the hex arm. But things that we've done to just make it a little bit easier, instead of memory lock tom arm, we kept the look with the ball, but now it's all fused into one piece. Very fluid mount, tightens down with one piece, very easy. And if you need to rotate it, can even rotate any direction. So again, yesterday's vibe, yesterday's look, today's player performance is what we're going for.
And I have to say, the feel of the kit, like I said before, with that vintage vibe, there's also a real sense of reliability. Nothing's going anywhere. It feels like it's going to be super reliable. You're going to take it out and it's not going to fail on you. I've played some vintage kits and I've had some vintage kits, and that is always a concern, in terms of like kits holding their tuning or, hardware, some of this older hardware not really being as reliable, but this feels so solid to play.
That's really another inspiration. In fact, that's where some of our new artists that have just come online, they were, traveling with their vintage kits. They did not want to tour with them, found the sound fit in for what they were looking for seamlessly. So now they have a touring kit and they have a kit that they can keep at home.
It's fantastic. So, we have the Covington with us today, but there are quite a few other drums, right?
Correct. Covington was the first in really what I call the natural sound, the golden age sound. But as music's kind of elevated, we needed to have something that was more durable. We made a second shell, and this series is called Cleveland. The Cleveland shell is basically the same layup, but it's using plies of wood, plies that are cross-laminated that allow you to get, that will give within each other and just easier for tuning. The other benefit that came from that was just a little bit more punch, a little bit more mid and lows, and so that's why it complements these two together. When you were playing, I saw you got a lot of sound and you were able to do a lot of tuning range. I guess you could say Cleveland is a little bit more the modern sound.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And there's two other kits, right?
Two other kits. Along came, kits that we manufacture in more mass quantities, which are power tone. Yeah. Same formula of shell. We're going to keep it maple and poplar because that's the sound that we're looking for. But power tone uses the beaver tail lugs, which are very popular, has that look. And then the Tower series, which is a tribute series to the old center lug, long tension rods, just has that old vibe that people are looking for. And so it's really rounded out the line.
Unfortunately, we don't have those kits with us today, but as soon as we get our hands on them, we will be doing some sound demos, bring them into the studio and trying those out. In the meantime, I'll link below to some sound demos that, and some marketing that, Ken and the team at Rogers have put together, so you can check those kits out. They will be listed on the website as well, so you can head down to any of the links. We'll link all the gear in there, and you can go and explore all of the drum kits, all of these, I gotta say, some of the most beautiful finishes that I'm seeing on modern drums at the moment. Just really, really classic stuff, understated, the attention to detail, the art deco, it's absolutely fantastic. And I think it's really exciting to see in a modern age where we're finally getting rid of these, I don't want to say grotesque, but these burst lacquer finishes. I'm really happy to start seeing more classy wraps, some really nice finishes that are just nice and classy. It's beautiful to see.
I want to say one thing about my team that I'm really, really proud of is I talked about Bill Denimore. Our design guy, Bob Creelan, is crazy on really meticulous design and was able to really take a lot of these things and build in what the factory needed to bring that detail that you're talking about. And it's been a team effort. And what I find now is people are really joining the mission of bringing this great brand back. It's just not a couple of us, it's a lot of people. And welcome to the crowd. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ken. Well, I think we've touched on everything in regards to drum kits there. But I think it's time to move on to probably one of the most famous products, which would be the Dynasonic snare drums. So why don't you tell me a little bit about what you guys are doing there?
That was really the beginning of that project. The Dynasonic is the iconic snare drum that everybody saw, all the players playing. The real key is this piece right here, the rail. There was an invention by Joe Thompson in the early 50s for a snare rail that basically suspends the snare wires and allows you to adjust the tension independently to the drum. On a standard drum where you strap the snares to the bottom, you end up changing the tuning of that head. And if you read the patent actually says that there's barely any snare bed at all in the bottom head to keep the tuning equal on both sides. Get your tension up, and really all the throw off does is just allow this to go right up and kiss the bottom head. And I got that statement from Steve Maxwell, who really is one of the best explaining, people that really understand the whole dynamics of this drum. But really it kisses up against the head, and as you demonstrated, you can get any sound you need just with this one little screw right on the side, and the throw off just lifts it down. Pretty simple. You put that with the shell, and those are the two magic formulas that make it the sound it is.
It's an incredibly expressive snare drum, and being able to have this snare drum is just absolutely gorgeous. I've been in love with it all day. Beautiful green pearl sort of finish on there. Rogers badge, but just the sensitivity of the snares just all the way across the drum, and having that control is really nice, and it's a different sensation. It's a different sort of experience, having the snares off and on. And also you don't only have the snares, you also have the dampener as well.
Correct.
Which is a really great feature to have.
It was something we had to have in there. I mean, if you're going to make the drum original, you could cut corners, but we just had to. And in fact, it's one of our more popular replacement pieces right now.
Yeah, of course.
So many people really, want to get that back on the drum.
Well, it's something that you're seeing in a lot of modern drums at the moment. It's a feature that you're seeing on a lot of, other companies and, artist series drums, and, the dampeners are coming back because it's having that versatility.
Absolutely.
It makes the snare so much more versatile. Between songs, you don't have to grab your wallet and stick it on the snare drum. You can just flick it up. You don't have to worry about that whatever you've decided to place on the snare drum falling off halfway through a gig. And
just the look.
What's not to love about that snare drum? It's gorgeous.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Inspiration. That's all I can keep saying.
It's an inspirational instrument, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And with some wicked finishes as well. How many? It comes in two sizes, right?
Actually, three sizes. We have 5, 6.5 by 14, and 8.
Okay.
And 8 is now, we've added a brass shell and steel shells into the line.
Yeah.
And that's given us, the smorgasbord that were really the palette that we were looking for to really express the sound. The snare you're looking right over here is a curly maple. Just the outer veneer is a curly maple on the outside. And that's a 6.5. Just really kind of sets it off.
Another beautiful looking drum, and just that quintessential, Rogers throw off, which it looks vintage, but it looks beautiful. And again, across everything else, it's just the attention to detail that helps to really sell it. And it's great experience on the eyes and the ears.
The way it should be.
Yeah. Are there any other snares? You got another range of snares, right?
We do. We have the Power Tone and the Tower, which
Yeah.
really go along with those other two series.
Those two series,
And and we have Super 10. Some people, the rail is a little challenging. So in the USA series, we did take off the rail. Super 10 goes way back. Many people would do that. You just don't deal with the snare guard on the bottom and the rail system. And pretty much the same sound.
Yeah.
But just the sensitivity is the main difference. Some people, when they're really, they're looking for that different thing that's a little more traditional for their style of playing, we give them the option. But I really do think Dynasonic is finding its place in the music right now, and people are exploring and finding that sensitivity makes a difference between those two series. And then the Tower series snare drums match the single tier. So shells, again, same formula, ply shells, and more mass manufactured. When I say that, we make them in bigger batches instead of one-offs.
That's really cool, and I'm absolutely in love with the Dynasonic stuff. It's never. I mean, I've played a couple of vintage ones in the past, but we don't really get that many over here. They are kind of few and far between. But when you do get to play them, it is a great experience. But playing both of these snare drums today has really been quite magical. And I'm stealing that one, taking it home, for sure.
We'll see what we can do. One other thing I would like to mention that we kind of took things forward is a lot of people in the mounting know that memory lock. And the memory lock tom had a lot of great features, but it was a set and keep it because it had 4 big key bolts on it.
Yeah, sure.
One of the first things I learned is people would over tighten those, the keyboards would, the keys would break off, and it had to be, retapped and everything. So this is something that we actually took from the photography industry, which is a real simple L-rod or have a straight arm, but it's fluid all the way around. And because it just pulls in one simple touch and it's locked into place. Now, we did this for a couple reasons. There are a lot of people that still have the old drums on their toms with collets. And a collet, we made a tom mount that's based off the clock face throw off. So it has the same design, same looks. But what's cool about this is it's dual bi-dynamic. It basically, you can run it with a L-rod style, or if you have a straight in rod, you can go straight in.
Yeah, it's a really cool feature.
Just gives 2 types of setups, and what's really cool for the vintage guys is on the straight in, it works with the old collets. You just so it fits pretty much seamlessly with old parts or new parts, which is one of our biggest goals.
That's really awesome. I think that brings us on nicely to something which has been a really pleasant surprise to talk about, and that's the hardware.
Hardware was a great project.
Yeah.
You have to have the look, the swan leg look. If we can pull one out, maybe.
Yeah, sure.
The hi-hat. Here we go.
You got it?
I think we can make this happen.
There we go, yeah.
Starting from the bottom up, what I found so important was the low center of gravity.
Yeah.
These are very stable, and the swan leg not only had an aesthetic to it that we had to capture, but it gives you more support and stability as the stand is hit a little harder. And we designed a special foot on it to get a little bit more surface place. You can see the attention that we've kind of made with our Rogers wing nut. But one of the things that really hit me as I was talking to a lot of vintage players was the relationship of the metal stand to your cymbal.
Yeah.
And so what we really tried to do is we redesigned the original height adjustment, no metal or no nylon pieces to deaden the stand. Now, yeah, that can be a downer a little bit because, you want that security, but this is a 360 swivel, metal on metal, just pulls it tight, locks in place. But what's cool is you can have this wherever you need it, wherever you're sitting, you can put your adjustment.
Nice. Yeah.
Get everything to line up. And then at the top, we did go gearless, but you couldn't really tell this was gearless all the way in. And the aesthetic, Mr. Bob Creelan's design, just to make Rogers look so beautiful in the Art Deco style.
Yeah, I mean, the Art Deco thing is definitely something that draws me to the hardware, and the simplicity, it just matches perfectly with the drums. And I was smashing some cymbals earlier, and those stands weren't going anywhere.
Yeah, that's great.
And there were big cymbals on there, they weren't small cymbals, so there was a lot of weight being pushed through those, and they really performed very well.
We call Rogers the first lightweight hardware.
Yeah, and it is very lightweight, and extremely sturdy. So one thing in terms of the hardware that's blown me away is the hi-hat stand and the hi-hat clutch. I'll pass this over to you so you can show everybody. But this is probably one of the nicest hi-hat clutches I've ever seen.
The inspiration there had a good friend that said, how many times I'm at the gig and I lose the felts, taking this off. So what we decided to do is make it really simple to just pull off and put on with one fluid motion. It's just a real simple design that goes on, holds the cymbal all in place, but one touch instead of 3 or 4 times screwing around. And at the same time, direct into the hi-hat rod, the purest. No one will want to pull. No one wants a hinge there for that kind of a vibe. So we kept that all pure, but added one little going forward feature that we're pretty proud of, and makes it easier for the drummer's life. That's the
honestly, I might have to get one of these because that is just, it's nicer than any of the. I mean, there are other brands that make kind of similar quick release, but this is like definitely the nicest like machine piece. All metal, just very sturdy feeling, extremely pleasant to pop on and off. It really massages my ADHD.
There you go.
Absolutely perfect. So moving on to the elephant in the room.
There you go. The piece we've all been waiting for.
Tell me about this.
This really was a labor of love. We've all spent on the team, we all spent a lot of time looking at what made the Swivelmatic what it was. And then what features we would need to bring coming forward. Swivelmatic, as people know, is called that because it would swivel for an attachment because of the way people were playing right then. Some people do like that. This can go at an angle. But overall, it was the basic design of the arm, easy to adjust, easy to get to, was really what it is. And the other feature was height adjustment. In the old days, again, drum keys were the only way. Wing nuts weren't really part of this adjustment. But as you play a smaller or larger bass drum, you can find the center, put it right where you need it, and it's set. Everything's adjustable as far as independent pedal board to beater to spring. So you can dial it in whatever you need to for whatever height. We also added, for those heavier players, a couple spurs on there. Holds it in place, but then just kind of decked it out. I mean, the pedal board, I will say that we didn't want to put a lot of holes in the pedal board, but as you probably felt, it's very comfortable. And if you look at it really tight, there's a little curvature into the pedal board. We could have made it flat in a mold, and you can do that, but I noticed most of the vintage pedals had that little curve right there. And there's just something to that feel that we just built into the pedal. This pedal actually has a book on it, so you can understand the adjustments. One that I won't do right now, but there's a drum key bolt right here where we're able to actually make it a long board. Just brings the pedal back a little bit to get a little bit more push or a little laid back. So, and we wanted to kind of stick out a little bit, so we did a see-through beater.
Yeah, really cool.
And then it's actually two-sided.
Okay, yeah.
So just flip down and go up. Work of art is the way I like to call that one.
It's a real work of art. It's so beautiful. It looks like those old trailers, like the metal trailers,
Absolutely.
It's an absolutely magnificent looking thing. And I have to say, all the booklets and everything that comes with the pedals is really true to era. It's just printed in this beautiful style font. It's very easy to read. The attention to detail is there. And I haven't seen anything like that with any brands recently, and it's really,
thank you.
Again, it's a testament to your work to keep the brand true to its history, and it just like everything, opening the boxes, getting the kits out, reading the paper, viewing the gear, it just feels like you're a part of history with just modern appointments that make the gear so much more reliable.
I appreciate you saying that, and I just have to compliment all the beautiful vintage collectors out there, not for the inspiration, but for the guidance and the kick of the pants once in a while to do it right and make sure if we didn't, that the team understood what the priorities were. And now to bring it into everyone's identity and take it forward is our next step. And we can't wait to see what's coming forward.
Well, I can't wait to see what's coming either. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ken, for coming to visit us at Gear for Music and coming to the studio and let us play some of these fantastic drums.
Thank you.
Everything you've seen will be listed on the website, so you can find the links there, and if you do want to order anything, you can just do that directly through the Gear for Music website. As always, guys, please do not forget to give us a like and subscribe, and also leave us a comment down below. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. I'm sure I'll be able to get in touch with Ken if you have any questions, and we can answer those questions for you. I've been Theo with Gear for Music. That's Ken. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.